Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Lawsplaining the Interwebs. I am your host, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. And today we've got a couple things to cover. We've got autofocus. Autofocus is great. I love it. I hope it always turns on every single time. Not even focusing properly. What is going on here? Oh my goodness. 60. Not need to be there. There, that's perfect. That's what we need to see. Oh my goodness. Apply. Oh, the autofocus. Every time. I can't. It won't stay off. Oh my goodness. What is happening? What is this? It won't stay off. Every time I start up Streamlabs, the autofocus is back on and the camera is off. It's like that. I don't know. It's great. Good solid system, guys. So anyway, we've got some things to cover today. First, as you guys have noticed, the VIC situation has slowed down dramatically. That is actually expected. That's what was supposed to happen months ago. Months ago, this situation was supposed to chill out and things are supposed to take time between each major step. That was a thing that was supposed to be going on, but it didn't. It didn't do that. Things kept getting piled on. Stuff kept happening. The drama kept increasing, which is a little bit silly, but it is what it is. It is what it is. Well, now we've finally gotten to a point where we know when things are going to fully happen. On September 6th, there will be a hearing. And then sometime between September and October 6th, there will be a ruling from the judge. That's the plan. Now, obviously, we know there are more filings coming. We know there's more filings coming. The filings from Ty for the other challenges to the other motions, to the other TCPAs, those are all coming. Ty mentioned those. But really, they can file them anytime in the next, well, I guess 9 days, 10 days. Can't remember if the order said the 30th. I think it was the 30th. The 30th is their filing deadline, and then the 6th is the deadline, is the actual hearing date. So we'll see those sometimes in the next couple days, and we'll get to evaluate exactly what's going on when those drop. For now, though, there's not a bunch of VIC stuff to cover, and that's fine. We've got plenty of other things to talk about. And today, first, I will cover a little bit of the VIC drama. It's not the legal aspect so much as it is the drama aspect. We'll talk about that to start just for the auction. Now, a lot of this happened yesterday, but the actual person in the pictures, the auction purchaser, reached out to me via email. I understand she also reached out to Hirohei via email, or, well, I don't know how she reached out to Hirohei, but she reached out to me via email, and I had a brief email exchange with her about the situation and how she would like her, I guess, message to be conveyed. So I'm going to do that as faithfully as possible to what she said, and I think the best way might be to show you guys the emails that I had with her, with you know, of course, with her identifying information redacted. We don't want that. That's not what we're looking for here. But yeah, and I'll show you the proof she sent me, and of course, I have secondary proof of her identity from one of you guys. One of you guys, Ken actually knows exactly who this is. Knows her personally. So thank you, Ken, for verifying that this is the correct person. But yeah, let's let's look at this. And then after that, we're going to do a segment of the show. We're going to do a segment of the show that I haven't done in a long time. And I did this way, way before the Vic drama. These are interesting. And this case is actually from a while ago. We'll see. This is from March 22nd of 2019. Yeah, March 22nd, 2019. Now, this case does not predate the Vic case, but my coverage of these types of cases does. So I call the segment How to Catch and Convict a Predator. And what we do is we look at court filings from an ongoing or resolved criminal sexual conduct case from somewhere, and we go through and see what it was. This one was brought to me by someone on Twitter, asked me to look into a person that they knew of, I should say, from Twitch. This is a Twitch streamer, not a huge channel or anything like that, but a Twitch streamer who kind of vanished. And they asked if I could look into the documents, and I said, well, sure, I'll take a look and see what's out there. And I pulled it up and I got this horrifying case. And so I think it's really interesting to see how different crimes committed by different people, because there's no identical set of facts out there, and how law enforcement has builds up a case against someone, and then how the court system goes ahead and pursues it. And we can theorize about what types of defenses they're looking at and stuff like that, how they go ahead and try and defend against these types of crimes. This one will be pretty interesting. This is not the twerker. No. This is not the twerk. That was a different kid. That one was a much more famous YouTuber. This is someone very different. So, I have several documents. This is an ongoing case. It is unresolved at this time. So we're going to kind of catch it in the middle and see how they've built it up so far. And then we'll see if we can come up with any sort of ideas on how they might try to defend this. I'll tell you that my initial thoughts is I would not ever want to be in this guy's position. And there's a great way to not be in this guy's position. And it's by not doing exactly what he appears to have done. So we'll talk about it though, and then we'll see. But first, let's jump into this auction drama, right? And that's what this is, because this is not necessarily a part of the case. Although one of the people engaging in this auction drama nonsense happens to be an affiant in the case, Emmett Plant, otherwise known as M Initiative on Twitter. And being an affiant in the case and then continuing to try and spread some sort of rumor and derision undermines the credibility of your affidavit a little bit. It's not like a legal... Before I get jumped on by somebody out there, I'm not saying that it's a legal silver bullet that goes ahead and knocks out the affidavit and giant victory and wins for everybody. That's not at all what's going on here. However, there are people involved in all of this. Why is my camera just froze up? Oh, it's back. There we go. I don't know what's happening with the camera here, but hold on. I'm going to see if I can change a setting. Okay. There we go. So there are people involved here, and depending on the level of egregiousness, if you bring up the fact that an affiant is continually slagging and attacking, the plaintiff in the case, you can go ahead and use that to attack the credibility a little bit, because people are people. Now, the trick, of course, is finding a way to get the evidence of what they're doing before the court. And there are different ways to do that, and it's situation specific. We're not going to get into that right now because mainly because the existing testimony of Emmett Plant has a lot of problems in it. One, he's giving opinions about how other people felt. And that's not very helpful and isn't really admissible. He's not qualified to give those opinions. So the majority of his affidavit is already ridiculous and would be resolved in favor of Vic anyway if there were a factual dispute. Now, of course, there's another party or two making claims about Vic and about this situation who are not directly involved in the lawsuit, but they do seem to be peripherally involving themselves in the lawsuit. And I really wonder if they're actually not involved in the lawsuit or if they are actually involved in some way at the request of either the defendants or the defendants' attorneys. That would be a little bit more interesting. Of course, I'm talking about the bald, boring, low T Greg Doucette, who is so very successful that that people keep having to talk about his success all the time. Very, very successful with his ongoing bankruptcy issues and all of that. Low T Greg is trying desperately to get sued in this case. That's his statements, not mine. I don't think he'll be sued. The reason I don't think he'll be sued is because, one, what are you going to recover from a nobody with no money? And two, at this point, he's trying to make a point about Vic's ability to be defamed by a new person. I think that's his attempt. He's trying to be cute. Unfortunately, if you look at him, you can see that's not true. And that's a real problem. But anyway, he's running his mouth about this stuff and he's making these claims. And they're not true. They are defamatory. But acting on them would be a giant hassle. It would cost a ton of money. It would take a bunch of time. And at the end of the day, it would probably be a waste. Because you're engaging someone in a different jurisdiction who would presumably be allowed to at least somewhat competently defend himself, and he'd be able to do it on the cheap. So it's not the best move to do. But that doesn't mean we can't make fun of him for being an idiot and a liar. And one thing that you'll know about Low T Greg, he is at his core a liar. It's not mistakes. It's not accidents. It's not lack of research. He's a liar. And I can't say that enough. He's lying in public to people about others with the intent to cause him harm. That's crazy to me that he would do that. I can't imagine attorneys actually lying publicly about this sort of stuff, but there one is. So he is a liar. Now, how do we know he's a liar? Well, he's made factual assertions about this that aren't true, and I guess I can bring this up. So I am going to. I don't really feel like putting my email window on screen here, so I'm going to do this in snips, and I'm going to edit out the. I'm going to edit out the, whatchamacallit, email address. Real quick here. And then. All right. And we'll do it this way. I think this will be the best way. Here we go. Oh my goodness, my window. Here we are. All right. So hopefully you guys can read this. I know it's a little bit small, but that's just how it is. So this is from, well, her name is Elba. Good morning. I apologize for randomly sending an email. However, I just saw your video that you posted yesterday, August 19th, for the Kick Vic with that Emmett Initiative person. I am the girl that they used in the tweet. My name is Elba, and I've attached proof of the jacket that was bought at the charity event. This is from 2008 Onicon, 11 years ago. At the time of the event, I was 18. My friends and I went to Onicon to hang out after coming back from Christmas break on college. We all knew what the event was for, and we knew that the jacket and a kiss on the cheek was a prize. The video that my friend has captures our excitement and the hilarity that ensued when trying to rally money together. Whatever this individual and others on Twitter is saying is completely and utterly false. I have no stock in anything being said or my image being used for these accusations. Vic did not assault me and I was not uncomfortable. I was fangirling, excited, and hyperactive. I was okay with the kiss on the cheek, and anyone saying otherwise is false. I would prefer to stay out of this unnecessary drama, but I dislike the fact that my 18-year-old self is being used for something so utterly stupid. Thank you for your time, Elba. Okay, so there's that. And then let me get the jacket pulled up here. I'll show you the jacket she sent. And then I've got another let's see. Let me pull this thing up here. Here's a picture of the signed jacket. Here's a picture of the signed jacket. You can see Vic's signature down here. Tamaki Hearts, Elba, Vic Mignogna. This was a Orin High School Host Club auction, if I remember right. And he's wearing I think it's Tamaki is the name of the character that he voices in Orin High School, which is also the source of the coffee line. So this is a cheeky, romantically charged anime, right? That's what Orin High School Host Club is cheeky and romantically charged. It's got the coffee line in it that is the subject of other false allegations of impropriety. But there you go. So here's the jacket. Now, again, to go one step forward, or one step further than just the jacket and the email, I also was informed exactly who this was by one of you guys out there who knows her personally. So thank you for that. Now, she does have a couple other things to say, and I want to make sure and say them because I don't want people like running out and bothering her or anything like that. I asked if I could share this. That was the first thing I did, was go ahead and ask if I could share this because I didn't, sometimes people send me stuff and they want to stay confidential. I don't ever want to betray that trust. So here's what she sent. So I said, "Can I share this?" She says, "By all means, my public post has been all over Twitter, and Hirohei had made an updated video as well. I'd been emailing him as of last night when I was aware of his video originally. I don't want to get wrapped up in any of this. I won't presume to know any one side of any situation, but I know mine, and the one they are twisting is false. All I ask is that my truth is told, and it just fades away before becoming anything else." And then finally, I said, "I'll make it clear that you're only commenting on your own situation. Thank you for sending me this." And she said, "Thank you kindly." So that's the long and short of this. I want it to be very, very clear that she's not making any commentary on the case as a whole. She's not aligning with I stand with Vic or not. I mean, she may, I don't know. But in this situation, she is merely stating that what they are saying about this picture and this event is false. And she's giving very specific refutations of factual statements. Her age, she was 18, not 16. She's been called 16 by Greg Doucette. She's been called underage by other people. I think it's a little disingenuous. So I read an article the other day that was in relation to Epstein, right? And they said I think it was called like the disappearing girl or something, because all of the children that Epstein assaulted are being referred to as underage women or young women or something like that. But these are children. Now, in this case, I don't want to refer to Elba as a girl. Elba was a woman. She's 18 years old. She's a legal adult at the time this took place. Of course, now she'd be 29 or whatever, since it's 11 years later. But being, we can't, if people are out there saying that someone is kissing a young girl or a girl at a thing, that's not a girl. That's a woman. That's an adult. And they do this. They try to belittle or minimize an age or something like that for the purpose of making their point. You'll see this over and over and over again. They take away the agency of the person involved, and they do things to make it seem like the person involved wouldn't have been at all able to interact with this. Notice when they talk about the Orrin High School Host Club coffee line, and they, what was it? Mars Girl used to say that Vic would ask all of the parents to leave the room so that he'd be in there with all of the underage girls. And then he'd be fully in control of all of them, that there'd be no agents. Now, of course, Vic would make a joke about having the dads leave the room or something like that, not actually asking anybody to leave the room. That was the whole joke about it. But they'll do this. They'll minimize the agency of the people involved. And interestingly, the defendants, Monica and Marky, minimize their own agency throughout their whole claim. Monica, she just happened to go to this hotel room and just happened to not be able to say anything or do anything or move. And she just went along with it, which apparently went along with it doesn't mean went along with it, but means was forced along with it. If you read how they're interpreting that, she very clearly went along with it. So, that's how this whole thing has occurred. That's how it's snowballed. And that's one of the tools that they use. So I don't want to call her a girl. This person was not underage. This person was not anything other than a woman, 18 years old, who participated in an auction, willfully purchased the jacket and the kiss. They were both a known condition of the auction, a known result. The other misrepresentation made by T.L. Reeves, who's a weirdo of his own right, and repeated by T. Greg Doucette, is that there was one guy who bid $20, and then it got kicked up somehow, miraculously just went up to $420, and then they forced, as like a virgin sacrifice, this poor underage girl to receive the kiss. That's how they framed this. Of course, that's not true. There was a back and forth on the bidding. It was to raise money for charity, and everybody in the room knew what the bidding was for. That was the whole purpose, was to get that kiss. And the video tells the tale just fine. So. I should publicize the accusation of impropriety against Doucette. I don't know what that means. I'm making it, I'm publicizing it now. So there you go. It was $410. It got matched by Vic, I believe, so up to $820. And that's how that went. So that's where we are. I wanted to give you guys that update. I know Hirohei has talked to her as well, and he has updated this. But this is my channel, and not everybody who sees my channel sees Heroes. videos, and not everyone who sees Hero's video sees mine. So I wanted to make sure I shared the information that I have, and that's that. So what's next? Let me do the existing super chats, and then we'll just go ahead and transition right into this this criminal case that's going on. Blaine20 says Ron Toye is a pedophile. Sorry, Nick. What are you sorry for? Ryan Mercado, hopefully the transcriber got that one. Ryan Mercado says Greg is really begging to be sued. Oh, wait. Not worth it, considering that it would land him in Chapter 7 bankruptcy if Vic does decide to sue him. The Texan 83 says, I hear by dub Emmett Plant as has Botless. All in favor say aye, all opposed say nay. I hereby dub Emmett Plant as batless. Okay. Like knighting them. Like Emmett Plant is now batless. All in favor say aye, all opposed say nay. Reaver Baharish says, listen to your stream with Heath today at work. Have you guys heard of Peter Tirias? He wrote the books United States of Japan and Mecha Samurai Empire. The basis is inspired by The Man in the High Castle, but with mechas. No, never heard of it, but that sounds awesome. The Spawning Pit. The Spawning Pit says, hey, Nick, sorry to ask this on stream, but my grandparents are having some kind of property rights dispute with their city. Do you know a guy in Michigan that could do a case evaluation for something like that? I do know a guy in Michigan. I don't know if he does that area of law, but email me. Email me. I know a guy. The Spawning Pit says, I guess since I'm asking, you know if common law rules that would apply to trademarks and copyrights would also extend to property rights. Specifically, if one party doesn't enforce their rights, do they lose them? Adverse possession, yes, can actually be a basis. It can be a basis. I don't know what Michigan's statute on adverse possession is, and the adverse possession is pretty specific, and it's heavily influenced by time. The farther west you go, the longer the adverse possession statutes are. I think in Minnesota, they're 15 years, and there's a whole tick list of it, but it really depends on its case by case, and there's no way to just say yes or no. But the answer to your question is yes, there is a way where if you are adversely possessing property, openly doing so, that you can go ahead and get the court to determine that you own the property that you are adversely possessing. And adverse just means adverse to the other party, the actual property owner's interest. So there's, like I said, whole lots of issues around that. It's pretty complicated, but it could be worth it. Send me an email about it, and I will refer you to someone in Michigan who can help that. Help out, maybe. I don't know if he can help, but maybe he can find me someone who can if he can't. I biblically know him. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. All right. Let's do this. Let's do this. Okay, so I don't usually trigger warn people on stuff or anything like that, but here's a mild trigger warning. What I'm going to read to you is kind of awful. It is a human at the peak of being a disgusting degenerate. If true. Big if true, right? And this will include very, very, very sexually explicit language, and it will be directed at children. Not from me, of course, but in the documents that I'm about to show. So there will be parts that you might not like. And that's good and healthy. And oh my God, never lose it. Never change. Never change, chat. Never change. Okay. So the Texan 83 says, perhaps I should explain how I came up with that name for his balsa wood botleth, but bot less because he doesn't have one down there. Cough. Okay, so here we go. This is about a guy named Jonathan Ryan Ledoux. This is a Twitch streamer. I can actually look him up real quick and tell you I'm 99% sure it's this guy. Hold on. Let's see. What does this have? Yeah, this is him. Ah! Hold on. I've got his Twitch name. Just a second. When I say I have it, I mean I had it earlier. At Regis Castus. Here, I'll pull up his Twitch, which has not been active in a long time. So this is here you go. Regis Castus. Should be able to see that. Now, if it's not you, Regis, I apologize, but I'm pretty sure it's you. So this is yeah, here we go. Anyway, but this is Jonathan Ledoux on Twitter, at Regis Castus. He hasn't tweeted anything in quite some time. March 21st. Weird. Here's the criminal complaint as of March 22nd. So that's oh, here, I guess I could show you that real quick. Here's his Twitter page. It's still up. So Jonathan Ledoux at Regis Castus. His last tweet was right here, March 21st. It was a retweet. He's from Fall River, Maryland, or Massachusetts, not Maryland. Fall River, Massachusetts. And there, that's what we need to know. Let's take a look at these documents. Okay. Yeah, don't Ledoux it. Oh, Derek Alexander. Hey, man. Long time no see. Says, how many black people were at Road Rage, Minnesota? Yourself in blackface included. I was not in blackface, but two other guys were. Two other guys were in blackface. So that makes at least two. There weren't a ton. Remember, we're in Minnesota. I believe there was one, maybe two others. I don't know. I wasn't running around counting people, so I'm not entirely sure. But yeah. So, man, I miss you, buddy. Hope to see you again sometime. All right. Now let's get into this. Okay. So I, the complainant in this case, state that the following is true to the best of my knowledge and belief on or about the dates of March 22nd, 2019. The County of Kent in the Western District of Michigan, the defendant violated 18 USC 2422B, attempted coercion and enticement, and 18 USC 2423B, travel in interstate commerce with intent to engage in illicit sexual conduct with a minor. So very, very, very serious crimes. Very serious crimes. Here we go. So criminal complaint is based on these facts. See the attached continuation. And this is signed by Scott T. Bauer, special agent with Department of Homeland Security. So let's do sworn over the telephone. Proceedings were recorded. So here we go. Continuation of criminal complaint. So we've got I, Scott Bauer, being duly sworn, state the following is true and correct to the best of my knowledge and belief. Introduction, agent, background, and purpose of the warrant. So this is basically a statement of probable cause. They have to justify why they're actually making the arrest and charging this person with these very serious crimes. You're going to find that in this case, they try to be very thorough. And part of the reason that they're trying to be very thorough in this case is because there are lots of, when you have a crime that takes place over the internet and that involves speech, you have to make sure you can prove beyond any reasonable doubt, right? This is criminal. You have to be able to prove beyond any reasonable doubt that you've got the right person, that not only do you properly figure out that it was coming from their computer or phone or IP address or whatever you've got, but that it was actually the person doing it. You have to make all of these things. You have to really nail down intent. And all of that is going to be kind of revealed in this document, how they build up that case. But they can't just say, well, this username sent some illicit messages. Suddenly, poof, we got them. Now they're arrested. No, they have to really flesh out these cases. And it's especially important that they do this because if they don't do it right and they screw it up, a horrific person goes right back free, right? So here we go. So here we go. I, Scott Bauer, am currently employed as special agent. Oh yeah, so he's going to give his background and where, like the affidavits in the Vic case, right? They have to establish how they came to know about the facts relevant to requesting the arrest of this person. They have to do that. They have to establish, you can't just come out and say, yeah, somebody told me about this. Now, there's this doctrine that is basically that all of law enforcement is imputed with the knowledge of the entire department. I should say all of law enforcement. All of a particular law enforcement department is imputed with the knowledge of all of the officers on a specific case. It's assumed that each one who's involved in a case will be aware, but it's still that you want to lay it out because I'll tell you as a defense attorney, one of the first things you attack in some of these things is this probable cause statement that the officer puts down. You want to go ahead and say, no, they don't have the reason to know this. They couldn't do this or they did something improperly. Attacking them procedurally at this point can get an entire case invalidated. So again, these guys are pros. This is what they do. And they're going to be, they're going to be thorough on it, I would assume. No, I haven't read this since probably March or April. So I seem to recall it being pretty thorough, but let's go through and see. Let's see if there's any problems. I'm currently employed as special agent with Homeland Security Investigations, have been so employed since March of 2012, currently assigned to HSI Grand Rapids, Michigan. As an HSI special agent, I have investigated, among other crimes, criminal violations of U.S. customs laws and federal child sexual exploitation violations, to include those involving the use of the internet and interstate communications. I've received training in the investigation of child sexual exploitation. I have conducted numerous investigations relating to sexual crimes against children through the use of the internet. As a federal agent, I am authorized to investigate violations of laws of the United States and to execute warrants issued under the authority of the United States. So, there we go. We've got, prior to employment with HSI, your affiant was a special agent with the United States Department of the Interior, Office of the Inspector General, for approximately 4 years, focusing on the investigation of fraud, public corruption, and cyber crimes to include investigations relating to child sexual exploitation. Prior to employment with the DOI OIG, your affiant was a police officer with the city of Castleberry, Florida, for approximately 2 years and eight months. Now, part of the reason they lay out these credentials, and actually you can kind of use these credentials to their detriment from time to time, is they're laying out that they have knowledge of the procedure involved in doing this. They have knowledge of the technology that's involved in these sorts of transactions. They have knowledge of how these communications occur. They have knowledge. They may need to invoke their special knowledge of certain coded language. If you remember the whole Pizzagate fiasco, there was allegations of coded language that was common amongst sexual predators. And that coded language, that's actually a real thing. There is a lingo that is used by various people who commit certain crimes, because you can't just pick up a phone and say, I want cocaine, for example. You have to come up with some sort of code word. Or you don't have to, but people often do. And those code words can be used as an attempt to make enforcement of a crime difficult. So if an officer is trained in how this stuff works, and that's what he's laying out here, he'll have a more credible way to say, look, this is how these types of things go. We see this in cases from time to time. Our special expertise allows us to know that this IP address will be assigned for this specific time, and that's why we contacted the ISP and got that IP address verified to that address on the particular date and timestamps, yada yada yada. They're laying out this expertise. In one of the cases I was defending, I had a drug recognition expert, member of the drug task force, and he actually we were able to use his expertise against him because he allegedly performed a field test on a substance, and he said that the substance tested positive for marijuana. However, in the report that was issued, they mentioned the wrong field test, and they described a different method of testing than the marijuana test actually entails. I've talked about this before, but some of you may not have heard. There's for different narcotics, there are different field tests that are out there, and the field tests are not actually evidence in the courtroom. The field tests are evidence sufficient for probable cause. They actually have to send the substance away. Typically, if there's enough of it, they have to send it to a testing lab for a more precise test. But there are these field tests that they use, and some of the field tests have specialized procedures. For marijuana, it's a packet of chemicals, a chemical reagent, and then there's another chemical reagent packet inside, and you have to put the substance into the first reagent packet, agitate it for 60 seconds, and then put that packet into the other packet, and then it will start to have the appropriate reaction. The officer in my case didn't actually do that, or he didn't describe it when he did it. He described a different test. He actually described the test that he used for the other, that would be used for the other packet, which was a packet for meth as opposed to THC. So when we got to the courtroom and they actually finally produced the report, which they didn't do for a long time, they produced the field report describing the field test. It described the wrong procedure and had the wrong packet number on it. So we argued that they lacked sufficient probable cause to even bring this charge, because the expert, the drug recognition expert and drug task force member who allegedly did this on almost a daily basis, apparently performed the wrong test with the wrong material. And since they, at the scene, did not take any photos of the test used, they tried to argue that it was a typo, but we don't know that. How do we know that it was just a typo? They meant test 3, but they wrote test 9. I'm sorry, we can't verify that. And if they had taken a picture of the packet, they maybe could have. But they don't take pictures of the packet, because then we could argue about the color. Because the different tests return different colored results. And so there are reasons they don't, but they should. I think the problem in that case was that the officer typed up the report about a month after he actually did the raid. They didn't type it up contemporaneous with the raid, and that was probably the problem, although I don't know that. So it was an interesting way to use the expertise against them. But generally speaking, they use that expertise to establish probable cause, and then they can use that expertise later on the witness stand to convince a jury why they actually know what they're talking about. And for all of the times that I kind of dump on law enforcement, generally speaking, these guys are really good at their jobs. Don't ever mistake. And when I say don't talk to cops, the reason I say don't talk to cops is because they're good at their jobs. So in the scope of talking to them, they're much better at talking to you than you will be talking to them. So just don't do it. Don't do it. Get an attorney involved. Get help from people who specialize in this sort of thing. Anyway, so back to this. Sorry for the tangent. We've got following information was submitted for the limited purpose of demonstrating probable cause to believe that Jonathan Ryan Ledoux has committed violations of 18 U.S.C. 2422B, attempted coercion, enticement of a minor, and 18 U.S.C. 2423B, interstate travel with intent to engage in illicit sexual conduct. This continuation is based on the investigation, observations, and or experience of Homeland Security Investigation Special Agent Scott Bauer, as well as other law enforcement officers. Due to the fact that this continuation is being made to establish probable cause for a criminal complaint, I have not listed each and every fact known to me regarding this investigation. They only have to list a sufficient set of facts for the purpose of establishing probable cause. It's a much lower bar than a criminal conviction. So they say that, this isn't everything that they have. This is just for the purpose of probable cause. Hey, what's up, Ty? What's up, Ty? Welcome to the show. Factual background of the investigation. On November 16th, 2018. Oh, Ty, by the way, guard your soul, buddy. HSI Grand Rapids Special Agent Bauer, acting in an undercover capacity, entered the incest chat room via the Motherless website. So, in case you didn't know, there is a website with an incest chat room. Special Agent Bauer maintained an undercover account on Motherless that described the user as a single female and suggested the user had children. So, Special Agent Bauer, yes, it is actually Special Agent Bauer. Undercover received, UC means undercover, if you haven't picked up on that. Undercover received a private message from the target who identified himself as a 30-year-old male living in Massachusetts. UC informed the subject that UC was a mother of 2 kids, a 14-year-old girl and a 9-year-old girl. The target stated, among other things, he was interested in young and incest. Referring to the minor girls, the target asked, if you found a man you liked being with, though, would you be against him being active with them if he wanted? The target later wrote, in part, I definitely would like to find a woman like you with some young girls to play with, winking emoticon. On November 16th, 2018, the following exchange occurred between Undercover and the target, Deviant Nerd 42, via the Motherless chat room. Typographical errors in the chats are from the original. And this is where it gets awful. This is where it starts getting awful. We're on page 3 of 20, so steel yourself. Deviant Nerd, you want grandkids yet? Winking emoticon. No. Lol, aw. I'd love to breed them if I could. My only real rule would be condoms. Now, mind you, it's a little unsettling that UC is a venerable undercover male agent. So, but still, it's something. Okay. A shame, but that's fine. I can live with it if it meant I had 2 little, pardon my English, fuck toys. Tongue out emoticon. Lol, well, good. Would you prefer if it was something long-term or just have me visit for a one-time raping? I guess it depends on how it goes. Don't you think it'd be fun having a roommate to fuck and rape your little girls every day? Winking emoticon. It would be interesting for sure. Smiling emoticon. Just a second. It's always a sad reminder that people like this exist. Oh, and if you're wondering why I'm doing this stream, give me just a second. This is what real predators look like, right? This is the reality. When a weaselly little cuckbag calls someone a predator, this is what they're comparing them to. It's not defamatory, right? It's not defamatory. It's just like an opinion, man. He doesn't mean people to, whatever. It's not defamatory. It's just calling someone a predator. This is what they're calling them. Sorry. Would have to pull them from schooling just so they can be taught properly. Maybe not a roommate, but multiple visits would be nice if everyone was having fun. Does it matter if they're having fun or not? Tongue out emoticon. Lol. Kalinka Pavlova says, boyfriend was telling me last week how pedos and sex offenders in the US in the 70s were offered reduced sentences if they underwent mental and physical desexualization. This needs to be a thing again, but only as a light punishment. We'll see. All right. Later in the conversation, while discussing the target's intentions with the girls, the following exchange occurred. I'd probably start with your older. Sit her on my lap and explain to you that you and I have decided it's time to raise her and her sister in a different way. I'd explain I was here to tutor her and that she needed to do everything I tell her to. If she behaves, I'd take it slow. If not, I'd get rough. Slap, choke, force my way inside her virgin slit. I'd reward good behavior with gentle touch and a slower, more loving pace. Once I've finished, I'd feed her my cum from the condom if that's fine with you. Afterwards, I'd do similar with your younger, and in both cases teach them that if they told anyone that they'd be in serious trouble. The target provided Undercover with a Kik username of DevNerd, so future communication could occur via Kik. On November 17th, 2018, the following exchange occurred via Kik between Undercover and the target, DevNerd. I know a part of it is not wanting them pregnant, but if you're concerned about STDs, I can take a test before coming and show you the results. I like that idea. Yeah, that's actually a really great thing for the undercover officer to like. Because if this dummy actually gets a test and sends it to the officer, well, hashtag doxed, right? Hashtag doxed goes ahead and puts his own information out and verifies to the officer that he actually had these intentions. So interesting way that the officer can develop intent through another form and to verify this isn't all just a prank, bro, or just some sort of sick jokes. Phoenix76 says, well, Nick, I'm going to get a drink and I hope that the special agent has a good shrink. Yeah, this type of job, I couldn't do it. I could not do this because I would just shoot everyone who I came up to. You know, like arrest time, it'd be like, have a seat. It's America or whatever. If it means I can at least not wear condoms if I fuck their ass or get a blowjob, I'm in, lol. Lol. Winking tongue out emoticon. Well, if you're clean and can prove it, I suppose I would be okay. Good, good. Actually, would it be fine with the younger? She can't get pregnant yet anyways, I'd assume. I thought about that as well. I guess it would be okay if I could see you're clean. Smiling teeth emoticon. But condoms are a must for my 14-year-old. That's fine. I get that birth control isn't perfect. You showing me condoms at the airport also tells me you aren't coming to just murder us all too, lol. But most importantly, they will stop me from becoming a grandmother. Ha 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 ha. Yes, I get it. Don't worry. I just want to take your girl's virginities. Nothing more. Licking lips emoticon. On November 19th, 2018, the following exchange occurred via Kik. So, tell me your plans. Ha ha ha. Well, we talked about the general stuff, didn't we? I want to meet them, talk to them a bit, and eventually pick one to be the first. Take her virginity and teach her how to behave around me. After a little rest, do the same to the other. And then just continue teaching while making them understand I can fuck them whenever I like and they can't complain or say no. How do you want them to behave around you? To understand that they are to do whatever I say, that they are to obey me and their mother. They'll learn that they are to be obedient and be ready to sexually please me whenever I want. How will you teach them that? Joni Baloney says, is this Dr. Pizza? This guy routinely called Trump a pedo and mocked Pizzagate. Pizzagate is real. They've been consuming children for thousands of years, and the religion and practices of the Canaanites still exist. No, this is not Dr. Pizza. This is a Twitch streamer. His name is Jonathan Ledoux, and what was his handle? Regis Castus. Regis Castus. How will you teach them that? Talk to them. Tell them how the world properly works, how it used to and how it was better in the past. If they are good listeners, I don't suspect they'll give much resistance, but I will punish them if they try to disobey. I'll make sure they understand they'll be happier if they just obey without question. How does it properly work and used to be? Girls knew how to listen to men in their lives, and I'm now a part of it, even if I only visit occasionally. That to be happy is to serve and obey, both myself and you. On November 23rd, 2018, the following exchange occurred via Kik. Can I ask, what about breeding is so attractive to you? I don't understand it. I would think you would want no lasting results, lol. I guess I have a strong desire to spread my genetics, like a 15th century European dynasty. That and pregnant women are attractive. But why with younger girls? Why not go get a wife and have a family? I don't get it. It's not just you either. Other men have basically begged me to let them breed my girls. Suppose the taboo of it, something about the idea of a girl who is just hitting puberty sporting a belly full of my offspring is oddly enticing. Something about that sentence is almost worse than some of the other stuff. I can't explain other people, lol, but for me, I guess it's just so wrong that it's right. November 25th, 2018, the target stated via Kik, bet it makes you shiver thinking of me bouncing your youngest up and down on my lap before pumping her little pussy full of cum. Ugh. Later on November 25th, the following exchange occurred via Kik. Did I ask if you have a girlfriend? I don't, lol. Shock. Are you looking for one or enjoying being single? Oh, I'm looking for one, but one into the kind of kink stuff we are. I want a family. I want to breed. I want to raise my own children sexually. Not easy to find, lol. No, I bet, lol. DevNerd says licking lips emoticon. And you yourself single and not seeing anyone, right? Yup, and not looking. I was just making sure. If that ever changes, you can of course tell me blowing kiss emoticon, lol. So if that ever comes, and don't get your hopes up, lol, and we had kids, you would want to be sexually active with them. Yes, girls at least, I'm not into boys. That was my next question, lol. So what if we had a boy? Well, normally I'd suggest you raise him sexually, but you don't seem into that. Nope. Not sure then. Raise him normally, but when he's hitting puberty, tell him he can fuck his sisters, I guess, lol. Oh my god. Lol. The lols are terrible. The lols are terrible. So if we had girls, how early would you start with them? Little things right away. Would like sex to just be something we didn't hide. Would like to kiss and rub them and teach them to suck while still pretty young. F them, or I'm going to start censoring the words because I don't know. F them around 6 or so, I think. November 26, 2018, the following exchange occurred via Kik. I mean, if I get my way, they'll be my property eventually anyways. winking emoticon. What does it mean to be your property? My pet girlfriend and obedient F-toy lover. While discussing if the target would stay with the family or at the hotel during the visit on December 3rd, the target stated via Kik, "You like the thought of you and your girls having breakfast in the morning only for my to prop the youngest up on the table and F her like it was just what she was meant for. I'll admit I got pretty stiff just typing that out, lol." On December 4th, 2018, Special Agent Bauer received a Kik message from the target stating he had sent a voice-recorded message to Special Agent Bauer's undercover motherless account. The message contained 2 links to the Vocaroo.com website. The first message, ending in A3RLB, was approximately 12 minutes and 27 seconds in length. The target stated he was aware of the risk involved and was feeling paranoid. The target stated until someone meets and the conduct occurs, there will be no way to know it isn't some sort of lure to catch a predator. Referencing the television series, which focused on identifying individuals interested in engaging in sexual conduct with minors. The target stated he wished to share his thoughts and this information prior to meeting at the airport in the event of an immediate arrest. I'm glad he was planning for his arrest. Target advised he was not being accusatory or doubting his ability to go through with the plans, but more addressing a fear of his. The target stated in the event of a law enforcement operation with plans to arrest him, he had one request. The target stated, "I would go perfectly quietly. I would not fight. I would not resist you. But the only thing I need for that is if it can be done quietly. If it comes, if it plays like this, take me and quietly lock me up." Target stated he did not ask this out of fear of public retribution or smearing of my own image, but because he was concerned about his elderly parents learning of the circumstances of an arrest. Target advised he did not care about anything that would happen to him. Referring to his parents, the target stated, "I would rather disappear in a jail cell and have them never know what happened to me than for them to find out that their perfect, good, morally sound son would go out to meet a complete stranger and attempt to have sex with a minor." Target described these thoughts as a paranoid fear and wanted to get them off his chest in the hopes that some mercy might be shown should he be arrested or to help understand his fears. It's at this point, Ledoux, that you just back off and Minecraft yourself immediately or get all of the help in the world. All of the help in the world. My God. The second recording, ending in BKAO, was approximately 4 minutes and 16 seconds in length. The target detailed 4 possible outcomes for how things might occur. Bad vibes. Says, "Nick, I love what you do, but I can't listen to this filing. It's stomach turning." I know. I know it is. That's the point. That's the point. I am an opinionated AF, and I know that only words are said, but I really hope those who listen pay attention. I know this is important. Yeah. No one has to stay for this, by the way. I know this is rough content. It really is. This is insight into what these people are like. This is insight into what officers have to deal with. Very important. This is insight into what attorneys have to defend and prosecute and how they do it. That's the point in all of this. Again, I hope people understand this is education related here, because you don't see this, right? You just see a news story that says so-and-so was picked up for attempting to solicit a minor. And you're like, well, that's interesting, I guess. What a weird, sick perv. But some of them are worse than just being a weird, sick perv. And this is what that perversion actually manifests as. This is a reality in the darkness that is out there in these people. And when I say these people, I mean these offenders specifically. There's no real, I'm not aware of any sort of test other than conduct as to what makes someone like this. So Name says, okay, we get it. Here's $20. Make it stop. Oh God, why does this guy remind me of how Ron Toye talks? I don't know, but I've heard that criticism. I'm on the precipice of vomiting. Ron, you cuck. This sounds like you. Make sure you get that down, transcriber. C-U-C-K. Kageru says, I almost threw up listening to those messages. I had to open my whiskey and break my weekend-only alcohol rule to cope with this trash. Here we go. 4 detailed possible outcomes for how things might occur. The first outcome, which he described as the best, involved everything going well during his visit with you and your daughters, and he would begin the strangest journey of my life, to say the least. So, at least there's hope that this person never actually offended on anybody. That this was all caught, and he never offended. That would be the only solace. Now, that doesn't mean that he's okay by any stretch. The solace would be that from the sounds of it, hopefully this guy has never actually had the opportunity to offend on a real child. The second outcome involved him spending the weekend in Grand Rapids. However, something just doesn't click, I guess. The target stated, however, in his outcome, he and UC would at least have lived out a fantasy. Target stated he would also at least get to know if he had the guts to go through with the plans. Target advised, regardless of what decision he makes, I get to move forward in my life knowing where I stand. Target added, as much as he said he wanted to, he won't know what he is going to do until he is there, and the decision is in front of him. Target added, maybe we did it, and you know it just wasn't quite what you were expecting, or maybe I did it and just decided, now that I've done it, yeah. Target described this outcome as a good one. Chris Montgomery says, I work in a state DOC, Department of Corrections, and have to deal with these types of inmates as well as others. I try not to look at their charges so I can remain professional, but sometimes I have to because of my involvement with STG. You are a stalwart man, Chris. Stay strong, brother. It's something I could never do. The third outcome the target described as meh and involved him traveling to Grand Rapids, where either he or UC changed their mind and nothing occurred. Fourth possible outcome he stated he covered in the first recording regarding his fear and paranoia of being arrested. On December 6, 2018, the target sent the following messages via Kik. I love using collars as a signature of ownership. Would you be all right with me buying a couple of nice but not obviously BDSM sexual collars for them to wear after I visit? I think it'd be a nice gift for them to think of me when they wear them, which I'd like them to wear as often as possible. Target went on to state he wanted the girls to wear the collars while he engaged in sexual intercourse with them. The target later told Special Agent Bauer he had purchased the collars and he sent a photograph depicting the collars shown below. Target added, can't wait to put them on the girls. In a later conversation while discussing the collars, the target stated, it's fine. I just can't wait to see them wearing them, preferably with my cum splattered across their faces, winking emoticon. Get the axe. Additionally, on December 6, 2018, the target stated he was interested in having the girls urinate on themselves, drink his urine, and allowing him to urinate on the girls. Target inquired more about this on December 8th, 2018, and stated via Kik, I'd like to have them wet themselves, drink mine and each other's piss. I'd like to pee on them and make them wear their soaked clothes. Would be curious if I'd enjoy them being dirty like that for prolonged periods of time. This is especially awful because if you don't know about sexual abuse, especially in children, oftentimes that's a defense mechanism, and that will be a lingering problem, either self-urination or self-defecation, because when they're threatened, they found that that's a way to keep their predator away from them. So for someone to entertain that they might enjoy that as part of this is exceptionally disgusting. It's actually worse. Dias Striker says, I can do little to protect my kids from pharmacists willing to file charges for asking medical advice. However, against a monster like that, I have no issue putting practical application to 35 years of martial arts training. Yeah. On December 24th, 2018, while talking about Christmas, the target stated via Kik, good, my late gift to them will be all the training they'll get. Their gift to me will be their virginities, smiling emoticon. December 26th, the target wrote, I am not a cop either, lol, but I have to make this risk one day or I'll go crazy. So far, you're the safest person I met. No, if you're aware of this, get help. Get help. There's some sort of help for you. And maybe that help is being locked in an institution where you're not a danger. Get help. Undercover informed the target the mother and her daughters would pick the target up at the airport and drive him to their residence. On December 27, 2018, while discussing the drive home, the target stated via Kik, we'll talk, get some of the beginning questions out of the way. I'll probably touch them a little, steal a kiss if I get the chance, ask if they want to see my cock, and let them play with it if we're in a C area. At most, maybe make one of them give me a blowjob. Later during the conversation, the target stated we'd be traveling with closed condoms, results from an STD test in his laptop computer. December 28th, the target stated, my needs require activities with young girls, lol. I know others on ML that I talked, motherless, that I talked to about the lifestyle, but so far you've been the most sane and safest of the bunch. I think he means sane. On January 19th, 2019, the target sent Undercover a picture of an American Airlines flight itinerary with the words, your trip is booked, written at the top. The image showed a departure from Boston Logan International Airport on March 22nd with an arrival at Gerald R. Ford International Airport. The image also displayed a record locator UJFJGO. January 29th, Undercover sent the target, 22nd, sorry. Undercover sent the target a photo of a white female in a pink top laying on the bed and informed the target the picture was of the 9-year-old daughter. Target replied, no, believe me, I'm flattered and hiding in the bathroom because my face is flushed and I'm getting a little stiff looking at her. She's a beautiful little girl and I can't wait to finally meet her. And by little stiff, I now mean I'm fully erect and trying to calm down so I can go take my break. Lol. Travis the Bard says, what kind of therapy do the cops go through to get through that job? It has to be rough. I don't know. I mean, from what I've heard, police departments are much better about providing this through the chaplaincy and through, if they're non-religious, of course, through psychological counselors who are licensed to deal with this type of stuff. Much better than places like Facebook. Remember, this is what cops deal with. Especially, special victims units and stuff like that. Facebook has a group of people who see the same type of stuff and actually see some, video evidence of stuff like this. They don't seem to provide psychological training. I believe there's an ongoing lawsuit about it. This always bothers me. Now, I know why they're doing it, right? But they have a photo of a presumably 9-year-old female in a pink top laying on a bed. And they've probably confiscated that photo from some other horrifying person. Like that's the solace there is that horrifying person being abducted means that some other child isn't put in danger, but they can recycle that, if you will, and use that to grab someone else. But I'm always unsettled by somewhat. Now, this doesn't appear to be explicit content, but it's certainly suggestive. And that's an unsettling part of the job in the reality. Undercover and Target discussed whether the target would stay at an area hotel during the visit. Or at the residence. It was decided the target would stay at the residence with the girls sharing a room and the target sleeping in the empty bedroom. The target stated he would sleep in bed with the girls, but was worried the girls wouldn't get any sleep due to his snoring. Well, at least that's the reason. February 5th, 2019, while discussing the collars the target planned to purchase for the girls, the following exchange occurred via Kik. And it's perfect for adding a custom tag or other decoration on the front if need be. Like their names or pet names, tongue out emoticon. Lol, do you have pet names in mind? Depends on how things go, but it's easier to call them sluts, F-toys, cum sluts, kitten, princess, etc., etc. February 18th, 2019, the following exchange occurred via Kik. I'm especially eager for your youngest, winking emoticon, if only because she'll get to feel the pleasure of getting cream pied. Think you choose her first? I think so. February 19th, the following communication occurred via Kik. I was thinking of when you bring your girls to meet me in the airport, if one or both could wear a skirt or something small enough that if they didn't wear panties, they'd be able to flash me if they sat across from me. Flash you at the airport? Yeah, lol, just sitting at the table, they casually spread their legs and give me a peek. On March 4th, the following exchange occurred via Kik. I won't lie, I would be delighted if they just stripped right as we all got inside, but I'll let the mood dictate how things progress. Lol, if that's what you want, I can tell them so. If you want to let the mood dictate things, we can do that too. See how they feel about it, but surprise me, I guess, lol. Lol, okay, I'll surprise you. The good kind of surprise and not the kind where I end up in jail, lol, tongue out emoticon. Well, I guess that didn't work. On March 7th, 2019, the target indicated he had taken and received results of an STD test. The target sent undercover this image. Results negative. Encounter for screening for human immunodeficiency virus. Negative. So here you go. And he's got patient name Ledoux, Jonathan. Boom. This is very bad. Very bad for Jonathan. Also on March 7th, the following exchange occurred via Kik. I'm content with my slightly above average size lol tongue out emoticon. Lol, plus if I was 10 inches, it'd only cause issues with girls their age, winking emoticon. Later, during the same conversation, the following exchange occurred. Given that I've never done anything remotely like this, I really wasn't sure how many condoms to get, lol. But I figured since I'd be doing more than just vaginal, then 4 should cover it. Later during the same conversation, the target added, lol, I'm into effing, but I'm not a sex-crazed demon or anything. I'll be doing plenty of oral and hand play with them as well. March 14th, the following exchange occurred via Kik. I'll play with your youngest first, I think. Okay, what finally made you decide that? Would be ashamed to waste the first and biggest load in a condom. Oh my god. March 15th, the following exchange occurred via Kik. Trying to get last-minute stuff dealt with is frustrating, lol. Still, maybe it's because I didn't masturbate yesterday, but I can't help but think about inviting the older girl to come clean the mess spelling from her little sister's slit once I'm done with her. Clean it how? Lol, what do you think I'm picturing, doll? I honestly have no idea. Lol. Lol. Clean her up with her tongue naturally. March 18th, 2019, when asked if the target was having second thoughts about traveling, the target said, of course. I'm afraid and worries and terrified that I'm making a mistake, but I know the pattern. I'd run away, delete my motherless, stay away for a month before going back and looking again. If I'm going to jail for this, then I might as well get it over with. Just one more page, pretty much. At approximately 12:10 p.m. on March 22nd, 2019, HSI agents made contact with Ledoux at the Gerald R. Ford International Airport in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Special Agent Bauer read Ledoux his Miranda rights, which Ledoux waived verbally and in writing. During a post-Miranda interview, Ledoux acknowledged he was traveling to Grand Rapids to meet the mother of a 14-year-old girl and an 8 or 9-year-old girl. Ledoux stated he intended to have sexual intercourse with both girls. He said he was unsure if he would have been able to go through with those plans, but that was his intent in traveling to Grand Rapids. Well, he just laid out a confession of the elements of the crime right there. Ledoux stated he was more interested in the younger girl, which I don't know the statute. We can look it up in a minute, but that might be an aggravating factor and that might be worse for him. Ledoux stated the youngest girl he would have sexual intercourse with is approximately 6 years old. Ledoux acknowledged that DevNerd was his Kik username and DeviantNerd42 was his motherless username. A search of Ledoux and his effects uncovered the collars identified in paragraph 22, as well as the STD test and condoms identified in paragraph 37. Based on the foregoing, I submit that there is probable cause to believe that Jonathan Ryan Ledoux attempted to coerce and entice a minor and engaged in illegal sexual activity in violation of 18 U.S.C. 2422b, traveled in interstate commerce with intent to engage in illicit sexual conduct in violation of 18 U.S.C. 2423b. So there you go. That's the complaint and the factual basis for probable cause of the complaint. So the good news is that the horrific parts of the stream are basically done. There's more documents to go through because this is just the initial complaint. There's an indictment, and then there's some motions that I want to go through and an order. Those are all much shorter and they don't involve such horrifying content. Thank you for hanging out with me through this. I know this is tough. But you know, this is what you deal with in these types of crimes, both from a law enforcement and from a criminal defense standpoint. Forever229 says, can we get a sentence of death by torture over a 20-year period? Unfortunately, no. No, these are not death sentence crimes. Although, I mean, a very real part of me wishes they were. Dustin Fritz Farr says, brothers and sisters of the chat, guard your minds, but do not turn away. Our enemies would claim this is the crime of our brother Victor was guilty. Do not turn away. Know our enemies' way so we may identify them and purge them. All right. Let's go on to the indictment. So here's the indictment. This is the different counts, and this is a grand jury indictment. So how grand jury works is they put together a group of 12 people, a grand jury, and a prosecutor comes in and lays out, because this is not a criminal case. A grand jury indictment is a solidification of the probable cause statement. The prosecutor comes in and makes the case based on the probable cause statement, based on perhaps witness testimony, probably based on the testimony of the undercover agent. And at a grand jury proceeding, you can actually include evidence that would be inadmissible at trial if it leads to the probable cause. Because again, we're just trying to get to probable cause. A conviction is very, very different. Having this arrest changes the landscape of how you interact with a potential defendant. Prior to someone being charged with a crime, you have restrictions on how you can deal with them. One of them is if they're not under arrest, you can merely say, the person who's not under arrest can merely say, nah, fam, I'm not going to talk to you. But once they're under arrest, they can be compelled to talk. Now, they can choose to plead the Fifth Amendment and remain silent. They can demand a lawyer be present while they talk. But ultimately, they can be asked questions and forced to answer them once they're under arrest. The rules and interactions between the law enforcement and the accused change dramatically, and those rules are designed to protect the accused, but also give law enforcement a chance to question them that otherwise they wouldn't have. So getting a grand jury indictment is merely a matter of saying, look, we have enough information here to make this arrest, and we think we can make a case. We, of course, won't know, or not just make an arrest, but levy charges. And then in this case, that will entail detention, right? They're not going to let this guy out because he'd presumably be a danger to the community. But they're gonna incarcerate this person, and they want the backup of the grand jury to do it. They may require it under the federal statute. I don't know. I don't know if the federal statutes do. Grand juries are not required in every state for every crime. That's a state-by-state statute that determines a grand jury charge. I think there is a requirement for grand jury charges on federal felonies, now that I think about it. But either way, having the grand jury gives them permission based on the evidence that they have at the time to proceed forward and make the charges. And then, of course, during that process, they will get more and more information. So the grand jury, they hear all of the evidence, and then they vote, just like a regular jury, on whether or not these charges can be filed. So Count 1, attempted coercion and enticement between on or about November 16th and on or about March 22nd in Kent County in the Southern Division of the Western District of Michigan and elsewhere. Jonathan Ryan Ledoux used facilities and means of interstate and foreign commerce to communicate with an individual to attempt to knowingly persuade, induce, entice, and coerce one or more individuals who defendant believed were under the age of 18 years old to engage in sexual activity for which any person could be charged with a criminal offense. Specifically, defendant who was in Massachusetts used the internet to communicate with a person he believed to be the mother of a 9-year-old girl and a 14-year-old girl living in Michigan to attempt to convince the mother to allow him to engage in sex acts with both girls. Sex acts with the 9-year-old would constitute first-degree criminal sexual conduct in violation of Michigan Compiled Law Section 750.520B. Sex acts with the 14-year-old would constitute third-degree criminal sexual conduct in violation of Michigan Compiled Laws 750.520D. Count 2, interstate travel with intent to engage in illicit sexual conduct. On or about March 22nd, 2019, in Kent County in the Southern Division of the Western District of Michigan and elsewhere, Jonathan Ryan Ledoux traveled in interstate commerce for the purpose of engaging in illicit sexual conduct as defined in Title 18 U.S.C. Section 2423F with another person under 18 years of age. Specifically, defendant traveled from the state of Massachusetts to the state of Michigan with intent to engage in sexual act with an individual he believed to be a 9-year-old girl and with an individual he believed to be a 14-year-old girl. Forfeiture allegation, attempted coercion and enticement in interstate travel with intent to engage in illicit sexual conduct. The allegations contained in the indictment are hereby re-alleged and incorporated by reference for the purpose of alleging forfeiture pursuant to 18 U.S.C. 2428. Pursuant to 18 U.S.C. 2428, upon conviction of an offense in violation of 18 U.S.C. 2422 or 2423 set forth in the indictment, Jonathan Ryan Ledoux shall forfeit to the United States of America any property, real or personal, used or intended to be used to commit or to facilitate the commission of the offense, and any property, real or personal, constituting or derived from any proceeds obtained directly or indirectly as a result of the offense. If any of the property described above as a result of any act or omission of the defendant cannot be located upon the exercise of due diligence, has been transferred or sold to or deposited with a third party, has been placed beyond the jurisdiction of the court, or has been substantially diminished in value, or has been commingled with other property which cannot be divided without difficulty, the U.S. shall be entitled to forfeiture of substitute property pursuant to 21 U.S.C. 853P as incorporated, blah, blah, blah. Basically, they can take anything he might have used. So that's definitely going to incorporate his phone, his laptop, or computer, anywhere he may have done the communications. It may include a car that he used to go to the airport, or any other vehicle transportation that he owns. It may include his home, if he owned his home and that was used in the commission of his felonies, as if he was transmitting from there. It's possible to actually include all of those things. That'll have to be argued at trial. Whew. Man, I hate these cases. All right. So that's the indictment. That's the grand jury indictment. The grand jury has agreed to all of this based on the evidence that's presented to them. Motion for competency of the defendant under 18 U.S.C. 4241A. So here is their first attempt. This is their first attempt at getting these charges to be applied where he doesn't go to prison. Okay. He would still be, likely committed to a state mental health facility or a private mental health facility licensed by the state. Now comes Helen Nieuwenhuis, First Assistant Federal Director of the Office of the Federal Public Defender. So he's got a public defender. To hereby move the court to order that the defendant undergo an examination to determine his competency to understand the nature and consequences of the proceedings against him and or his ability to assist properly in his defense. Now, interestingly, they have recordings of him suggesting that he was aware of the potential consequences, right? They have these recordings that he allegedly sent to the undercover officer, which stated that he was aware that he may be arrested, and he asked that it be, done quietly to preserve his, to preserve his elderly parents from finding out about this and all of that stuff. So there's an interesting problem with the competency argument, is that he appears to know the consequences of his actions. He alludes and the officer, of course, was picking various chats for the purpose of laying out that this guy was aware of the consequences, aware of the unusual nature of his requests, and stuff like that. So they're going to have problems with this one, but they're making the argument, because if he's not competent to stand trial, they can find some sort of civil commitment for him, or they could, potentially the charges could be dropped. Although he would be a danger to the public. Fenrir the Wolf says, I completely get that this was important, Nick. With nieces who are like daughters to me, this hurt to listen to. It should. Can't remember the last time I felt the amount of pure hatred and fury I now feel. I'm with you, buddy. I have 3 daughters. 3 daughters. Okay. This motion is premised upon the statement of facts contained in the memorandum in support of this motion, which is being filed contemporaneously herewith, which we'll read in just a second. Counsel believes such an examination is necessary to protect the defendant's right to due process in these proceedings. The government has advised that it takes no position regarding counsel's motion. And that's wise of the government, because they're likely going to pass a competency proceeding. He will be found competent to stand trial, I believe. No reason to suggest he's not. And by having that competency proceeding taken care of now, they can't really, they can appeal the ruling on the competency proceeding, but they can't say that he was incompetent later on in a subsequent appeal. So here's the memorandum in support of the motion to determine competency. Jonathan Ryan Ledoux is charged by a 2-count indictment with 1 count of attempted coercion and enticement contrary to 18 U.S.C. 2422b, and 1 count of interstate travel with intent to engage in illicit sexual conduct contrary to 18 U.S.C. 2423b, along with a forfeiture allegation. Mr. Ledoux was arrested on March 22, 2019 at the Gerald R. Ford International Airport in Grand Rapids, Michigan. A federal indictment was issued on March 26, 2019. On March 27, 2019, Mr. Ledoux had a pretrial conference, arraignment, and detention hearings before the Honorable Ellen S. Carmody. Judge Carmody ordered Mr. Ledoux detained. The final pretrial conference is scheduled for May 28, 2019. The jury trial is scheduled for June 4th, 2019. This jury trial has not happened. Just so you know. Just so you know. We'll get to that. Defense counsel and or her staff have met and spoken personally with Mr. Ledoux on several occasions. Since the initial appointment, it is apparent to counsel that Mr. Ledoux has ongoing mental health issues. Counsel and her staff have reviewed the defendant's social history, criminal history, and some health records. Newaygo County Jail, specifically Richard Weber of Community Mental Health, recently contacted the Federal Defender Office regarding Mr. Ledoux. Mr. Weber has met with the defendant several times and will continue to see him on a weekly basis. Mr. Weber urges counsels to have a forensic evaluation done of Mr. Ledoux. Due to the information disclosed in the police reports as to the nature of these events, the review of the defendant's social history, and counsel's and her staff's own observations, counsel believes an examination of the defendant regarding his competence to stand trial should be ordered by this honorable court. Based upon all of the above, counsel believes that an evaluation of the defendant needs to be completed. Counsel believes that an evaluation... Oh my goodness! Yawning. Counsel believes that an evaluation is necessary to determine if Mr. Ledoux's current mental state is such that he can or cannot competently assist in his defense. Discussion. Under 18 U.S.C. 4241A, it is within the court's discretion upon motion by either party or by its own motion to order a hearing on the defendant's competency. Prior to that hearing, the court may order a psychiatric or psychological examination of the defendant to be conducted with the report of that examination to be filed with the court. 18 U.S.C. 4241B. Conclusion, the government is advised that it takes no position regarding counsel's motion. Counsel asks the court to grant the motion. Pretty simple. And then here's the next one. It's because I'm talking fast. I'm not breathing enough. I'm yawning. I apologize. Motion to determine the sanity of the defendant under 18 U.S.C. 4242. Defendant Jonathan Ryan Ledoux, through his attorney Helen C. Neuenhuis, First Assistant Federal Public Defender, hereby moves the Honorable Court pursuant to 18 U.S.C. 4242 for hearing for the determination of the possible existence of insanity or other mental health disease or defect at the time of the offense on the part of the defendant that may relieve the defendant of criminal responsibility for the acts claimed. Furtherance of this motion, counsel requests that a psychiatric and or psychological examination be conducted of Mr. Ledoux and the results of those examinations be filed with this court pursuant to 18 U.S.C. 4247. The government has advised that it takes no position regarding counsel's motion. And this memo is the exact same thing. I'm not going to read it. It's just sanity rather than competence. It's literally a copy paste with the competence arguments changed for sanity. And then here's the order for the evaluations. This was done on April 30th, 2019. Matt Field says, very important for everyone to see. Steal your hearts and minds, chat indeed. Girls are fictional and no one was hurt here. The idea of it induces rage and sorrow for those who have suffered. I pray for strength to withstand. Defendant Jonathan Ryan Ledoux, through counsel, moved for a court order requiring defendant to submit to psychological evaluation for the purpose of determining competency to stand trial. The motion for evaluation is not opposed by the government. Also discussed on the record at the April 30th hearing was a potential issue regarding defendant's criminal responsibility at the time of offense. Given defendant's possible intent to raise the issue of criminal responsibility at the time of the offense, government made an oral motion that the evaluation pursuant to 18 U.S.C. 4242 be ordered at this time too. So the government is agreeing that his competency should be raised. It is hereby ordered that both motions for psychological evaluation are granted and defendant is committed to the custody of the Attorney General for a period not to exceed 45 days for placement in an appropriate facility for evaluation by a qualified examiner within the meaning of 18 U.S.C. 4241 and 4242. As soon as the Bureau of Prisons has designated an appropriate facility, defendant will be ordered transported by the U.S. Marshal to the place of examination or hospitalization. It is further ordered that the evaluation shall include extensive objective testing, shall evaluate whether defendant is competent to stand trial, whether defendant was legally insane at the time of the offense, and whether defendant's mental condition might be improved through mental health treatment, including prescription medication. Further ordered that the report shall be submitted to the court and will be filed with access restricted to the court and the parties. So I will tell you that this was ordered, filed at the beginning of August. Presumably it has been filed, but of course, the results are confidential. The results are confidential. We can't actually see those results, but I'm waiting to see. This is the last document in the case that there's some sort of status given, and we're waiting for an order on the mental health evaluation. But we can't actually see the mental health evaluation because that is confidential information about a suspect, or about the accused, I should say. Is further ordered that upon return of the report, a competency sanity hearing shall be promptly scheduled by the court's case manager. Further ordered that the professional preparing the evaluation shall make him/herself available for testimony at the competency sanity hearing. And finally, it is further ordered that pretrial services is authorized to release any bond reports regarding defendant to the Federal Bureau of Prison. And that is the order. So that is it. So right now, he is still in custody. He's been in custody the entire time. He was in custody prior to the evaluation. He's in custody. He was moved to a a facility where he would be examined and held in custody for presumably a mental health care facility. And I'm not sure if he is or will be transported back to a jail while he waits for his trial. So that's that, y'all. Tough stream. Tough show. Absolutely awful to deal with this stuff. So, that said, fun times. Kiwi Farm says he's released. I'm not sure about that. I guess I could check real quick. Let's just go ahead and pull it up. Whoops, wrong one. Wrong one. Wrong web page, that is. All right, hold on 1 second. Let's see. All right, here we go. Hold on, let's read this. Okay, I don't know where they would find out that he's released, but let's take a look at. Here's the order, or here's a letter from the care facility, and we'll take a look at this. This is the most recent order about the transportation of the defendant. So this order was issued on May 3rd. The defendant shall be transported by the U.S. Marshal to the designated place of psychological/psychiatric examination or hospitalization, MCC Chicago, with arrival no later than 10 days from the date of this order. And then that is this is from the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Chicago. Says, Dear Judge Carmody, this is in response to your court order dated April 30th, 2019, which committed Mr. Ledoux to an examination and evaluation pursuant to Title 18 U.S.C. 4241 and 4242. Mr. Ledoux was designated to the Metropolitan Correctional Center, Chicago, Illinois, on May 2nd and arrived at the institution on May 6th. The statute allows our psychology staff 45 days to complete the evaluation. Our clinical psychologist requests a 30-day extension as permitted by the statute in order to complete the testing and examination necessary to develop a history, diagnosis, and opinion. Time period for the evaluation commenced upon the defendant's arrival to MCC Chicago. It is anticipated that the evaluation will be completed by July 19th, 2019. 3 copies of the report will be submitted to the court within 2 weeks of completion of the evaluation. You can expect to receive the report by August 2nd, 2019, should you grant our request for extension. If you have any requests, any questions regarding the evaluation, please contact Dr. David Sisowski. Blah, 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 blah. So there you go. That's oh, sorry, you guys can't see that. I forgot I switched it. Here's that letter I just read. Here's the letter I just read. That was dated June 17th. Here's the order that was filed on April 30th. Oh, wait, that's not the... Where's the other order? This order was filed on May 3rd. May 3rd. So, there you go. There you go. As for whether he's in custody of the Bureau of Prison, the BOP website, I believe, is the Bureau of Prisons. They would have released him to custody here, but I don't know that they would actually release him without a court order. So there you go. But I don't know. Maybe he's been released. I don't have any evidence of that. The last thing I have is the what do we got here? Oh, here's the absolute last thing that I guess I didn't include before. Here's the order. This was filed on July 8th, 2019. Court has received a request from the Federal Bureau of Prisons for an extension of time until July 19th to complete the psychological evaluation of defendant ordered previously in this matter. The court finds good cause for the requested extension. As such, it is hereby ordered that the Federal Bureau of Prisons may have the requested additional time in the psychological evaluation of defendant Jonathan Ledoux shall be completed July 19th, 2019, with a report submitted to the courts by August 2nd, 2019. So there you go. Again, it is entirely possible that he is not in custody, but I don't have any evidence to say where he is or isn't. But if the Bureau of Prisons says he's released, then maybe he's released. Maybe he's released. All right. So this is released on July 30th, 2019. But it's possible he was released back to the custody of the of county jail. Some other holding facility. But I don't know. So anyway, we'll have to see. Chris Montgomery says, people don't have a clue what prisons are like, to be honest. It's just the tip of the iceberg, and those who cry about prisoner rights should really look into what the criminals get in prison versus what their victims get. It's a strong point. Just so you know, I have a family member who is was a prison guard for several years, and I've heard all sorts of horrific stories about the people that he had to deal with. So, let's see. Well, I guess that's the show tonight. I'm monitoring the case. I'm monitoring the case, and I will continue to follow it and see what happens. There is no order in the case, and that's probably because federal courts move slowly. The report would have been issued confidentially, allegedly, on August 2nd, 2019. That would have only been, 19 days ago. And because of that, we probably won't see an order in this case for another, 12 days? 10, 12 days? Somewhere in there. They typically have 30 days to issue a ruling on this stuff. But that's where we stand right now. But very awful. Very awful. Canuck and Can You See and Trap says, I know of another case, but don't have all of the details, where a man with breeder fetish chatted with an undercover. Undercover was the only one who ever brought up doing anything with her daughter. Man just wanted it with adult, no desire or intent with kid entrapment. That would be a good argument. That would be a good argument. If you notice, that was something that the undercover officer in this case was very, very careful. Actually, the undercover officer in this case really let him do the leading according to the facts presented in the complaint. Now let's talk a little bit about, how you go about defending some of this stuff. Problems for the plaintiff, problems for the defendant. Confession, biggest problem. Not a signed confession, but an admission of guilt admission of the elements of the crime to the officers after waiving Miranda rights, both verbally and in writing. That is devastating to any defense case for this guy. He said, I went to Michigan to do this act, which is illegal. I did that. There you go. Pretty much at that point, unless you can show that they violated some of his fundamental rights, which prejudice him in a material way, if you can't show that, he's gonna get convicted. Now, how you fight this, though? Let's say he admitted to those things, but was going to use the entrapment defense. There is a possibility that there are other chat logs out there between the undercover officer and the defendant that they did not disclose for the probable cause determination. Because remember, probable cause determinations are entirely one-sided. That's the point. It's the minimum bar that we need the government to pass to go ahead and bring charges. It doesn't mean you're guilty. Now, it can ruin your entire life, of course. These types of charges ruin people's lives, hands down. But it doesn't mean you're guilty. Doesn't mean you go to prison. Doesn't mean, all of that stuff. So let's say they're on discovery, they would have to turn over the entirety of the chat logs. They have to turn over all of it that they possessed. And if they don't possess some of the chat logs, if there's stuff missing, that would be very bad for the prosecutors. But assuming they did preserve all of it, which I imagine the undercover officer did, it's very possible that they preserve something that does make an entrapment argument. Now, entrapment is not simply hanging out some fruit and thinking someone might come grab it. Entrapment is much more involved in this than people tend to realize. To actually entrap someone, you have to encourage them to do something that they otherwise wouldn't have done. And that's a pretty bold step. This guy, according to the chats that we've seen, is driving the conversation about sexual activity. He is chosen. He has stated openly what he would do. He has stated that he would undergo traveling across state lines. He would get the STD test. He would buy the materials, the condoms, the collars. He would do that stuff. That was his imperative that's a consistent narrative throughout the chats. You see that he is a driving factor and that this undercover agent is merely playing the mom who's willing to go along with it. But it's not like he met this person on Tinder and they said, "Oh, by the way, I want to put you in connection with my daughters. I want to do all this other stuff. I want you to be nasty to them." That's not how this worked out. He went looking. So outside of some severe discovery that's going to paint the conversations in an entirely different light, you're going to really have trouble with an entrapment argument, because it seems like this guy would have done this with anybody who was willing. That's the interesting thing here. He found the undercover agent who posed as a willing party, but not as a party that was inviting the activity or encouraging the activity to the extent that he wouldn't have otherwise done it. They basically just said, "Yeah, lol, bro," a whole bunch of times. And then this guy described all of the activity. And the undercover agent, to their credit, was very careful to say, "Why would you do this? How would you do this? What do you have in mind? What's your plans? Why are these your plans? What's your reasoning for this? What do you mean by that? Not, you mean this, don't you? Would you like to do this?" Those are very different things. This guy clearly is experienced in eliminating the entrapment argument. Now, certainly the defense is going to raise that entrapment argument. You have to say, but for the presence of this undercover officer's encouragement and enabling, my client would not have been able or even willing to facilitate the crimes. You focus on statements like, "I don't know if I would actually do that until I get there." You try and make those statements. It's a weak argument, a very weak argument. But if you can convince one juror you have a shot, right? You have a shot. Now they're still in procedural motion practice right now, getting the sanity stuff worked out, getting the competence worked out. They're going to try and eliminate and foreclose those automatic wins from criminal liability at the start. But I have a feeling the court's going to move past those. And when the court does move past those, they're going to have to start making the arguments. Of course, that would be made at trial, and they'll make an entrapment affirmative defense and state that the government enticed him to do this stuff. Not a good argument. It's not a good argument at all. And the especially damning things for him are, again, those recorded statements about him knowing that he would get arrested, knowing the consequences, seemingly being aware of the social consequences as well, indicating that his parents would suffer, and indicating that his parents would suffer and that he didn't want that to happen. So he knows not only the criminal possibility of being arrested and having to pay for these actions, but he also is aware of the social and societal implication of what he's talking about. He talks about it being the old way, not like things are now. He's acknowledging, right in communications with the undercover officer, he's acknowledging that this behavior is aberrant, it is deviant, and they'll, of course, focus on deviant nerd being a reference. I mean, it's not a solid... this is not a convictable argument, but it plays, of course, into the minds of the jury and the minds of the judge. He named himself deviant nerd. He knows what he's doing is wrong. He knows this is wrong. This is not someone incompetent to stand trial. This is not someone who's crazy. They're embracing their deviancy, but that deviancy is still acknowledged, and that's the important part of this. So they're going to use even his name against him. And they're going to use these statements against him. And I mean, we'll see. Based on the evidence I see, this guy is toast. He is toast. Roddy, how much do federal public defendant lawyers make? Roughly, obviously, I don't know. I think in my town they make about 55 to 60 grand a year. I would hope that federal defense attorneys get paid more than that, but I'm not aware of their salaries. Okay, let's go through the chats and then wrap up the stream. It'll be a little bit shorter tonight, which is great. These are heavy. And yeah, I'm happy to get out of them. I'm gonna go after this. I'm gonna play some Twitch, and very happily forget that Jonathan Ledoux exists and that people like him exist, and maybe silently hope that that those people don't exist forever. All right. Chadman says, Ron Toye's a cuck, a big fat cuck, the biggest cuck in the whole wide world. She's a stupid cuck if there ever was a cuck. She's a cuck, a big fat cuck to all the boys and girls. Oh.
Well, Ron Toye's a cuck. He's a big fat cuck, the biggest cuck in the whole wide world. She's a stupid cuck if there ever was a cuck. She's a cuck, a big fat cuck to all the big fat cuck to all the boys and girls.
Oh, sorry for massacring the melody a little bit on that. It's been a long time since I've heard that song. Oh, it's been like 18 years since I've heard that song. Oh my goodness. Comfy Couch says, look here, listen. Look here, look, listen. Greg Douchebags set should stop talking about things he knows nothing about. Mercenary X says, incest chat room. That doesn't sound gross, weird, and awful at all. Especially if they are not the age of consent in any way. Nothing wrong with family fun time. Everyone loves it. Oh God. Chadman says, I'm a degenerate edgelord. Says, but even I can't fap to this. Mercenary X says, sorry, Nick, but this is how I deal with stress and disturbing things. Sarcasm and snark. No, you're fine, buddy. Sarcasm and snark are one of my defense mechanisms to cope with the disturbing. The incest I can ignore, but the facial matter with children, make it flaming chainsaws to the groin. I agree, buddy. I agree. Let's see. Stephen Pakaki says, you said my last name right a few weeks ago. I'm impressed. I was called Stephen Blowcocky all throughout school. I'm 27, still not over the cruelty. Man, that's rough. That's rough, buddy. Drifter Comic says, your autofocus just lost us the case, Nick. It always does. Joni Baloney says, what day will you be at Bubba Fest? All of them. I'll be at Bubba Fest all 3 days. Be cool to thank you for your cervix. Would a small Q&A not be too imposing? 3 questions pre-screened. I will have a For the Fans panel, allegedly. I've got to confirm that with Chris. I believe Yellow Flash and maybe Tug. I don't know if Tug's coming. Whoever's going to Bubba Fest will be on the panel. I can't remember who it is. Oh, I think Emish might be coming. Anyway, the For the Fans panel, assuming it's still on the agenda menu, I got to get it finalized with Chris. You can ask questions there, of course. Otherwise, come see me. You will not be bothering me. You can certainly ask me some questions. Absolutely. I love meeting people at these things, and it will not be an imposition at all. It's part of why I'm there, is to meet people. I skipped the rest of your first chat. Sorry. I did? No, I read your thing about Family Fun Time, and everyone loves it. I read it. It made me sad. Okay, Filthy Phil says, normally workday starting in the early morning, so I can't watch live, but this week got switched to night, so now I get to watch you on the clock. Oh man, it's a bad week, buddy. Bad week. Intimidator0108 says, low testosterone, Greg Doucette, LMAO. No one important. Says, subtle cues and word choice. Did you see the car hit the other car as opposed to did you see the car smash into the other car? Ricky1186 says, a super chat from my friend. I hope when this is over, Vic starts his own dubbing studio that puts Funimation out of business. Me too. Me too. Commandant says, first super chat, just wanted to say that I'm a big fan and look forward to every stream. You're a good man. The only lawyer I'll happily throw money at. Hey, thanks. Hopefully you didn't look at... I don't know. I don't know about looking forward to this stream. I didn't look forward to it at all. Ricky1186 says, Kick Vic showed how disgusting they really are, and Law Twitch showed their worth. It's not a lot. Finfrog says, Kick Vic was born yesterday. They share a birthday with low tier Greg. Blaine20 says, but Nick, nobody had cameras or camera phones way back then. My Room Record says, just finished my last MBA class tonight. Hey, congrats, buddy. Celebrating with a bottle of Lagavulin 16 with my wife. More music coming soon to all my channels. Stay tuned. Oh, man. I had an idea today, buddy, and I don't know if I can do it. I had an idea. Demented for Fun says, hey, Nick, can you ask my friend Comics Villain to put down the almond milk and defeat the bear already? Hashtag nut-free comics. There you go. Rick Nikita says, heard that lawyer in Michigan is a chump who puts ketchup on his hot dogs. Can confirm. Chadman says, we don't call it pedophilia. We call it early access, EA Games. Seriously, though, nice work with the song. Oh, man, that's a brutal joke. Jesus. Bagel Goose says, another wholesome stream. Thanks, Nick. Oh, you're welcome, pal. Deep Fried Lettuce says, not sure what ASMR genre this is, but I hate it. Samantha Schoner says, I can't drink due to medical reasons, but this stream is making me wish I could. Sleepy says, when can we conduct exterminatus on this scum? And I hope the state does. A to P says, gas, 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 gas. RickU1186 says, this area of law has a high turnover rate. I don't think anyone here is wondering why, and most of them are not as stupid as this moron. Spawning Pit says, sent the email. Look for Spawn 10317 in your inbox. Thank you for the referral and answer. I appreciate it. Don't worry, I don't care about being doxxed. Thanks, buddy. Matthew Neidig, I remember Neidig, says when people frivolously accuse someone they don't like of being a predator, they either know exactly what damage can be done or they're completely ignorant to it. Both possibilities are distressing. DLG Screwjob says, I know now why people drink. Kalinka Pavlova says, disregard my 20 super chat. Blood, 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 no mercy. I got that after your $20 super chat. Ichicinco says, Ron is paying someone to transcribe pedo bait chat. Yes Man 2044 says, I can see why you drink as much as you do, lol. Tablet Link says, this crap is pretty par for the course for chats I've been in with my old hunter group backing me. Stains the soul having to put up the act for too long. Some real sickos out there. There are. Chris Montgomery says, those 3 super chats I sent tonight were also my first ones to you or anyone else. Hey, thanks, buddy. And really, thank you for contributing with your expertise on this. I know some people were skeptical of my approach to this, saying that I don't have expertise in this area. I've worked on a criminal sexual conduct case. I'm not a big fan of it. I was not a fan of working on that case. I do not purport to be an expert in apprehension. And I think they misunderstood what the title of my stream was about. It's not about how you. I'm not going to sit here and spout off about how law enforcement does their job on these cases. I'm going to examine the documents on how they did their job, and see if I see any ways out of this. For this guy, I really don't. This guy's really in trouble, and I think it's important to see how they do it and to see what they have to put up with. So thanks for hanging out with me and contributing with your expertise. I really do appreciate that. Okay. Sergeant McSalty says, Vic may have made some mistakes in his time, but whenever you talk about real predators, I instinctively start cleaning my rifle. Man of Martin says, how does a court-appointed lawyer handle these sick, dark cases? Thoughts? It's tough. It's really tough. It's a hard part of their job. And, well, one way is liquor. One way is liquor, and the other way, turnover. They move on to something else. Some people are really good at these cases and do them exclusively too. So, Game Idea Guy says Minecraft between the eyes with a rifle. Aquarius Walker says, yo, WTF, what type of R. Kelly stuff is this? Also, long time no chat, Nick. Hey, no kidding, buddy. Haven't seen your name around too much lately. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight. Thanks for contributing to the show. Architect of Fate says, I'm watching at Sue Hulk baking videos after this. Kalinka Pavlova says, I want to be snarky, but my soul has been beaten. Finfrog says, stay in prison for life, please. Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Oh, and if I didn't mention it, guys, if you want some less heavy content, I will be doing Twitch after the show. So come out and hang out, and we'll forget about this for a little bit. Kalinka Pavlova says, hey, Ron, this Ledoux guy Nick is reading about is an actual predator. F you for equating Vic to this type of behavior, you witless, dickless boob. Iz Ailson says, and to think Ron said he wouldn't do something if someone called him one of these. Makes you think, right? Makes you think Ron's a liar. Finfrog says, I want his balls to shrivel up and fall off. Stephen Pakaki says, bro, go back to the beginning. I think you missed some super chats. No, I do the $20 ones first, $20 and up, and then I go back and do them all. So that's a way to get sort of immediate interaction, but not have the stream interrupted every 2 seconds from smaller chats. That's a problem I used to have. Was suddenly so many chats started coming in. I was interrupting the show in the middle of the show constantly to read it, and it became very very clunky. So I implemented this rule to smooth it out. Kalinka Pavlova says, anyone got wholesome news stories for brain rinsing? A wholesome one, Path of Exile. Path of Exile on September 6th, the same day as Vic's hearing, will be releasing a new patch with new content and a new season. Steve Shitty says, was supposed to meet up with a lady for an early morning boink, but I think I'm going to go home and scrub myself in the shower after this. Oh, sorry, I don't mean to ruin that. Yoko Karama 62 says, do they go after the parents on these sites? I would assume so. Yeah, if they can get them. My assumption, though, is that there aren't really that many parents interested in doing this. I mean, this is so aberrantly deviant and disgusting that even awful parents and even abusive parents really don't do this that often. I would wager the majority of people who are involved in this are actually probably undercover. Chris Montgomery says, I truly hope that those who falsely accuse people of being a predator see this stream so they get an actual idea of what sexual predator is. Name says, was this stream the Ron Soye ASMR? TLJ Screwjob says, thank you for your cervix. Nick Rekieta 2019. Yamas Katuli 2016 says, Nick, if you could let us know what day your panel will be, if there is one, when you can. I can only afford one day. I want to see. I'll be lurking in the Discord. Yeah, I will announce it as soon as I know. I'll solidify it with Chris as soon as possible. See. Yes Man 2044 says, sorry if my first super chat came across as mean. No, I don't think so, buddy. Blue Satoshi says, I haven't felt this dread inside since Jim's Kiro streams. And Esme Illis Anime says, Nick, you were missed. I was late. Sorry. Sorry to be missed. Chris Montgomery, I can only say thank you for doing this show. It puts a real light on what reality is versus what is fake in these cases. This will hopefully make people think about what they say on this. Yeah, buddy. Thanks, Cody. I appreciate it. No, I never will want to sunset myself, but this stuff is tough. Gotcha, son. Can you shout out Tism tomorrow with the quartering, bearing, and Sue Hulk? Shout out to Tism tomorrow with the quartering, bearing, and Sue Hulk. Sure, buddy. All right, guys. I'm about done for the night. For this, please feel free to join me on Twitch. I'm gonna get the stream set up. I'm gonna go grab some snacks from the snack tray, and then I will have Twitch going. I'll start the Twitch stream right away. Think I'm gonna do Risk of Rain again because I'm trying to get that achievement. So why don't let me get that lawyer song playing in the background. Let's see. We'll do the I'm trying to get the achievement with Rex still. And so we're going to do that. Other than that, tomorrow will be one final show before Bubba Fest. I'm not sure what the streaming schedule will be like during Bubba Fest, mainly because, travel makes things difficult. I may stream from Bubba Fest. Chris had given me permission to stream the For the Fans panel, but I got to see what that looks like. I tested out my mobile streaming setup, my new mobile streaming setup on my Surface tablet today, and it worked really well for my Cooking with Racket stream, which is a Patreon exclusive show. Patreon, a new project too. Exclusive show. You can watch me flambe some beef short ribs. If you're interested in that, sign up. I'm going to be doing those at least monthly. And it was a fun time. TLJ Screwjob, I think let's see. Yeah, the thank you for your cervix one. I did. And then finally, Talbot Link says, wholesome news. Omega Labyrinth on Switch outsold the PS4 version. Wow. Switch is truly a cool, I know I'm going to get made fun of, but it's an amazing little device. For one reason, you can turn off a game, go somewhere and turn it on and pick back up where you started, like a save state, and you're in the game in 10 seconds. It's crazy. Being able to do that with Skyrim is nuts. So that's what I like. But it's twitch.tv/Rekieta Law. I'm putting it in the chat. So you guys can I'm not gonna do the GoFundMe shilling on a stream about horrific criminal acts. So for those of you worried, about that. I shilled the GoFundMe last stream. I'm not going to do it on this stream for a very same reason I didn't do a Ridge Wallet sponsorship on this stream. It's just not the stream for that type of stuff. So tomorrow will be a different show. We'll let you know what's going on. We'll talk to you soon. Anyway, thanks for hanging out tonight. Come join me on Twitch. Peace. Peace.